In George Washington's farewell address, he spoke at length of unprofitable foreign entanglements. But now we have the word coming that France, Germany, UK, and yes, the Biden administration are now preparing a multilateral arrangement with Ukraine. Are we going to get anything out of this arrangement? Are we going to get anything from this other than the opportunity to spend more money on behalf of another country's defense? The answer to that is probably no. They may not call it a treaty, but friends, they're trying to structure this as if it is a security guarantee, a security treaty. We have a lot to talk about. Let's jump right into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are updates on what's going on behind the scenes over in Europe, as well as the State Department of the United States, as our government decides that it would be a great idea to shovel billions and billions and billions, and if possible, trillions of dollars in security assistance to a government we're not allied with. They're not our ally. There is like no possible scenario in which Ukraine will ever come to the assistance of the United States. Like, is that fair to say? It's fair to say, isn't it? If Mexico were to invade us tomorrow, I promise you, no Ukrainian troops would come to help. Zero. In 10 years, would they send financial assistance? Would they send us missiles? Would they send us aircraft? No, they would not. They never will help us in any way, shape, or form. They have no obligation to do so, and they have no capability of doing so. We are on the other side of the planet, and quite frankly, there are very few countries in the world that can actually pick up their troops and their equipment and move it halfway around the world. Very few European countries, China, and to a lesser extent places like Russia can possibly do that. But friends, the United States is reaching all the way around the world and punching people in the face. And it's just like, why? I want to read to you, in light of this multilateral agreement, security arrangement with Ukraine, I want you to hear the words from our first president. George Washington's farewell address in 1796, as he stepped back from being president, he had a few warnings to give to us. And I promise you, if he were here today, he would be banned from YouTube for being a traitor. Let's hear what he has to say, because I think you'll find these strangely like as if he's talking directly to what's happening today. He says the great rule of conduct for us in regard to foreign nations is in extending our commercial relations. We should do business with them. To have with them as little political connection as possible. Yeah, we don't live up to that. That's right. So far as we have already formed engagements, let them be fulfilled with perfect good faith. The things that we've already agreed to, let's just do that, right? Here, let us stop. Europe has a set of primary interests which to us have none. We're not interested in their little territorial disputes. They literally have nothing to do with us. That's what he's saying. Or very remote relation, okay? Maybe we care a little bit, but it doesn't impact us. Hence, because of this, she must be engaged in frequent controversies, the causes of which are essentially foreign to our concerns. They have nothing to do with us. Hence, therefore, it must be unwise in us to implicate ourselves by artificial ties in the ordinary vicissitudes, there's a word for you, right? 50-cent word, of her politics, or the ins and outs of her politics, or the ordinary combinations and collusions of her friendships or enmities. They're squabbling, they're bickering, let them bicker, let them squabble, let's have business with them, and that's it. That's what he's saying. It is our true policy to steer clear of permanent alliances with any portion of the foreign world. Someone needs to print this out and give it to Biden. So far, as we are now at liberty to do. For let me be understood as capable of understood not as patronizing infidelity to existing engagements. I hold the maxim no less applicable to public than to private affairs, that honesty is always the best policy. I repeat it, therefore, let those engagements be observed in the genuine sense, the existing ones. But in my opinion, it is unnecessary and would be unwise to extend them. Again, someone needs to print this out and give it to Biden. Why are we partnering with countries who will never, ever defend the United States? Because they're killing Russians, and we don't like Russians. Well, he has a whole another couple paragraphs in there talking about the dangers of having a permanent enmity, as he says, or having anger or hatred towards any nation over the long haul, because it will just suck you into wars. And that's exactly what's happening right now. France is running around behind the scenes trying to form a multinational military force to go into Ukraine. So when I hear that the Quad, the United States, UK, Germany, and France, are close to a political declaration to formalize military and financial aid, I'm hearing France has suckered the United States into making some sort of declaration so that it will provide political cover for when France sends troops in. We are creating the political cover so that when France and other countries declare that they're going to send in troops, that the United States will be handcuffed. Because France will be like, didn't you just sign this little thing saying that security guarantees? It's worded in such a way to put the United States over the barrel to get flogged, so that we will be forced to do things that are not in our nation's best interest. And we have a political class, and let's just say it's mostly in one political party, but then, the other political party seems to always be on board with it too. These rhinos need to just be honest and just become Democrats, because they basically all agree on sending as much money to everyone else in the world and spending as much money here as possible, money that we don't have. Every time we start talking about the defense budget, every time we start talking about all of this money that we're sending overseas, that's all money that we're just borrowing. All of it is just money borrowed. I talked about this on a previous video, where all of the money that comes in on taxes, all the Medicare withholding, all the Social Security withholding, is going out into Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And interest. We're paying interest on our debt. That's what all of our taxes are going towards right now. All of our Defense Department, all of our State Department, CIA, Black Ops, all of our foreign engagements, everything like that, we're just borrowing money to pay for that. We're not paying a dime in taxes towards any of that right now. If we can't borrow the money from the banks and from foreign governments and such, we would literally have to shut down the entire government, and all that would be happening in the federal government is paying our interest, Social Security checks going out, Medicare, and Medicaid. And we're not even going to talk about how he just hiked the Medicare premiums out there. We're not going to talk about how he just totally threw all of the retired folks in the United States under the bus. No one's going to talk about that this election cycle, probably. I hope the Trump team starts talking about that. I hope that Republicans start talking about that. I'm talking about the real Republicans, not the fake ones. We have a Speaker of the House who's a Democrat through and through, it seems like. He wants less rights and less... he wants to strip us of everything. He wants to enslave us to foreign powers. He has shown his true colors. He is a swamp creature, just like the rest of them. Now, there's a few in Congress that apparently haven't sold out completely, but are they just controlled opposition? That's one of the questions we have to ask constantly. But even this Congress, even this Senate, would not rubber stamp this atrocity that they are preparing, which is why they had to form it as an agreement or a proclamation. It is an arrangement, not a treaty. Because Biden knows he could never get this through the Senate. Because enough people in the Senate would go, this is absolutely insane. What are you even talking about? Why would we guarantee long-term the security arrangements and the security of a foreign government when we can't secure our own border? Why is that? That doesn't make sense. How many trillions of dollars? Are we just going to leave it open-ended? We're just going to guarantee it no matter what it may cost? Yeah, France and Germany are on board with this because the United States is going to pay for all of it. The United States is the money fairy. We pay for everything. Every single thing that happens out there, France knows that if its troops get into trouble, they're just going to pick up the phone and call the U.S. military, come rescue us, because we lost again. France doesn't have a good track record against the Russians. France doesn't have a good track record against anybody, really. It's a woeful history. If you want me to do a video on the military history of France, which is an embarrassment above embarrassments, how they were ever considered a military power is ridiculous. They never seem to win any kind of wars, and even if they do win a war, it's usually because somebody else in their team did all of the fighting. Like World War II. I mean, France wasn't doing so well before the United States got involved, right? France had already surrendered and was feeding fancy food to the German occupying troops. In fact, the French puppet government was fully submitted to the Nazi regime. So now we have France out there with their tiny little military going, we're going to go help. Knowing full well that they think that they can pick up the phone and call the United States for assistance when they get themselves in over their head. They lost the Vietnamese long before the United States made it popular to lose to the Vietnamese. Just all throughout its history. They have two unfailing characteristics of their military history is stupid ideas, stupid military engagements, and losing them. So we got France out there trying to get people on board with another military adventure, which is going to end in disaster, and they're fooling, co-opting and hijacking the United States and the UK into creating this political cover so that France can go do this stupid thing that they're planning on doing. Yes, France wants to send, who knows, dozens of military observers, advisors. It wants to send in just enough troops to lose them so that they can get upset and call the United States. We saw this in Vietnam when the United States started sending advisors. We have advisors in Ukraine right now. We don't need more. We don't need more cannon fodder who are just going to become tripwires to drag us into World War III. And we don't need a political statement that commits the United States to giving foreign aid and free stuff for generations to come to a country that isn't even our ally. They're not in NATO. They have no formal alliances with the United States, and they will give us exactly zero in return. The only thing that we get out of this is that we get to cover up over there what the United States was doing with its experimental biomedical facilities, illegal anywhere else in the world, but we had set them up there. Given what happened in the last couple of years, I think we have interest in what the United States is doing with testing of diseases and such. and all of the massive financial corruption that political entities in the United States were using to launder large amounts of U.S. foreign assistance into their personal bank accounts and into their political accounts. They literally funded their political campaigns from the foreign assistance we were sending that country. Don't pretend like it's otherwise. We all know it. Do we have the paper trail? No, because we've designed the laws so that there is no paper trail. And in order to keep all of that hidden, the powers that be in Europe and the United States would rather lose a war with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people who have lost everything because we have to cover up a political scandal. That's an atrocity, and yet that's exactly where we are. So here comes a formal declaration that we will forever give money to this corrupt government, and that we will be on the hook to providing military assistance for forever. Just in time for France to sneak around behind us and humiliate us by authorizing a incursion. All right, friends, that's what we got for you. If you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report.